Almost time to switch to hot coffee, but not quite there yet. Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Heather and as always I'm reading with a vengeance and hope you are too. Big love going out to you OGs who keep coming back, and if you're new to my channel, very warm welcome to you. I hope everybody's doing very well. How's everybody's reading going? We're entering into the reading season, if you will. Not that there's a season not meant for reading, but fall and winter, I mean, reading kind of takes over, doesn't it? And I think for that reason, September and October are really big months for new releases. So that's what we're here for. We are here to talk about new releases coming out in October that I am super excited about. Every month I do this video and it's, I think, my favorite video to do. I love just doing the research, looking up to see who's coming out with a new book, what books they are. But the hard part about that is picking and choosing the ones that I'm most excited about, because I like to kind of pare down the number of books that I talk about in these videos to the ones that I am truly excited to get to, that actually end up in my hot little hands within a decent amount of time. I started off this series by making a hard limit to how many books I talk about, and I was only going to talk about 5 books each time, and it just hasn't been able to stay that way. I've done 6 books here, 7 books there, and it's creeped up little by little. During the summer months, it's a little bit easier to keep that number down low because the new releases coming out, first of all, in quantity, it's just not as many as other months of the year. But the types of books that come out in the summertime typically aren't ones that I'm hugely excited about. But in September and October, and I'm pretty sure November and December, those are months that a lot of books come out, and a lot of books that are my type of books come out. So I'll probably be talking about a few more than I normally do in these videos, but no one's going to complain about that one. Certainly not this girl. So just to start off this video, I'm going to talk about a couple of books that I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on for a couple of reasons. Like, for instance, this book that I am going to mention, I was going to save for this video, but not only did I end up getting my hands on it, I started reading it already, so it's not going to count for this video. But Lisa Unger's coming out with Christmas Presents. It's a mystery thriller. I'm having a really good time with it, but I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm going to talk about it in a wrap-up video very soon. That's coming out in October. Another book that's coming out in October that I'm super excited about, but I'm just not going to spend a whole lot of time with because I can pretty much sum it up in one sentence, but that is The Exchange by John Grisham is coming out, and that is the follow-up to his hugely successful book, The Firm. I didn't even know up until recently, very recently, that he was writing a follow-up to that. I have a feeling it's probably been in the works for a very long time, but it's not like The Firm ended on a cliffhanger, so it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I'm really hoping it's not one of those books where, I don't know, maybe he had writer's block, so he decided to go back to something that was successful and kind of ride the coattails of that. I mean, but is it considered riding coattails if it's your very own coattails? Nevertheless, I am excited that it's coming out. I will read it. Because I loved The Firm. I loved a lot of his older books, so I am excited for that one. This first one I'm going to talk about first just because I have a physical copy. It's the only one I have a physical copy. I have the ARC. I'm super excited about it. The only unfortunate thing is its sheer length. It's a chunker. But this one is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This is marketed as historical fiction / horror. So that really got me excited. So this one takes place in 1950, and it takes place in a small rural town of Florida called Gracetown. And you're following young 12-year-old Robert Stevens. I think he's known as Robbie. And it just so happens this particular 12-year-old can see ghosts. Robbie is unjustly sentenced to a reformatory. It is the Gracetown School for Boys. He is terrified for many obvious reasons, but one of the reasons he's terrified is that there are rumors that this particular reformatory is haunted. And that, of course, is extra terrifying for somebody who can see ghosts. So he gets there and he is dealing not only with this haunted reformatory, but he's dealing with all the other boys who actually deserve to be there. And he is basically struggling every day just to survive living at this reformatory. But then he realizes that the evil he really has to fear is the warden. So then Robbie befriends a ghost there, and together they try to figure out a way to escape the reformatory. They're also trying to help the boys that don't deserve to be there. They're trying to help them escape, as well as the spirits of the boys that have died at the hands of the warden. They're trying to help them escape as well. Meanwhile, Robbie's older sister is doing everything in her power to try to get Robbie out of the reformatory. And it just sounds like a very compelling story. Hopefully it's not under-edited. This is almost 600 pages long, but I've read some books that long that I loved, so I'm excited that I have a copy of this. But for those of you who don't have access to ARC, this one comes out fittingly October 31st. The rest of the books I'll talk about in order of publication in October. The first of which being The Still Black Waters by Christina McDonald. This is particularly exciting because not only is it marketed as a mystery thriller / horror, it is the first in the series, and it's called the Jess Lambert series, and Jess Lambert is a detective in these books. So this one follows Neve McGuire, and after a traumatic home invasion, she flees with her daughter to go back to her childhood summer home in Black Lake. Neve is hoping for a fresh start, of course. However, when she gets there, the body of a woman is found floating in the lake behind her house. So Neve is starting to regret her choice to come back to this town, but she decides to stay. Neve is hiding secrets, and Detective Jess Lambert knows about that because, of course, she's a detective, but she also has a few secrets of her own. So when I think even a second body is found, that brings Jess and Neve together. There are two women who each have skeletons in the closet, and they come together to try to figure out what's happening in this town. So I'm excited about this one. I'm always excited about a series that I can start when everybody else is starting it. These Still Black Waters comes out October 1st. Next on this list is by an author I have read before, and that is My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. I read The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon years and years ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. I have two others on my list by her to read I haven't gotten to yet, Story of My Life. But My Darling Girl is coming out next month, and I'm excited about it. This is another one marketed as mystery thriller / horror, so it's got a little bit of an edge. And I think I remember another booktuber talking about it recently. I can't remember if they actually DNF'd it, but if they did, it was because it was like too much, too graphic, a little bit more on the horror side than the mystery thriller side. And I'm here to say that that even intrigues me more. So this one is a psychological thriller, and we're following Allison and her family. She lives in a cozy Vermont town. Christmas is right around the corner, but she's not as excited as the rest of her family, which sounds very familiar. My husband is huge into Christmas, and I'm like, meh. But Allison goes with it because her family loves Christmas. But then she gets a call one day that her estranged mother, Mavis, is terminally ill with cancer and wants to come home and spend her last days with her daughter and her family. Allison, of course, can't say no to that, but she is very, very hesitant about it because she grew up with Mavis being an alcoholic and abusive, and that's the whole reason they're estranged. So Mavis moves in with Allison and her family, and then weird things start to happen, and it starts to become clear to Allison that there's something going on with her mom, and she is not who she seems. And I think she starts to suspect that her mother is possessed by a demon, and things go from there. So this one sounds super I want to say the word fun, but maybe fun in kind of a twisted way. My kind of fun, a weird kind of fun, the kind of Christmas fun that I'm here for. So I'm super excited that this one is coming out in October, right before the holidays. I think it's perfect timing. My Darling Girl comes out October 3rd. Next on this list is What We Kept to Ourselves by Nancy Jooyoun Kim. This is not a debut novel. This is the second novel for this author. I believe her first, The Last Story of Mina Lee, was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. I don't know what that means to you, but just wanted to throw that out there. But this is marketed as historical fiction / mystery thriller. This is a book that goes back and forth between two timelines. It goes from 1999 back to 1977, and it follows a family struggle to find out what happened to their mother and her disappearance. In 1999, you're following the Kim family. A year has passed since the mother, Sonny, disappeared. John, I believe who is Sonny's husband, is struggling to kind of connect to his grown children, Anastasia and Ronald. An additional event happens that upends their lives. A body of a stranger is found in the backyard carrying a letter to Sonny. So the Kim family is learning about this stranger and who this person was, how and why they died, and what their connection is to their mom. Then you go back to 1977 and you're following Sonny, and she is pregnant and new to the United States with her often absent and distant husband. One day she meets a stranger at a bus stop and they develop a connection that spans decades. And this connection has repercussions in the Kim family that uproots everything they thought they knew about their mom. There are family secrets, there are other types of secrets, and I love that there are these two timelines, and I love that there is a mystery that spans decades. There's a stranger involved we don't know anything about, and I am really, really excited to get into this one. And of course, it goes without saying that two of my favorite genres, historical fiction and mystery thriller, are combined in a book, and I can't wait for it. What We Kept to Ourselves comes out October 10th. Next up on this list is by an author I have read. It is the author of The Tattooist of Auschwitz, Heather Morris, and I did enjoy that book. And the book that she is coming out with in October is Sisters Under the Rising Sun. And of course, the thing that got my attention is not only is it historical fiction, but it's historical fiction that takes place around the World War II era, which is one of my favorite time frames that I like to read. As you know, The Nightingale is one of my favorite books. Beneath the Scarlet Sky is one of my favorite books. This one follows two women in the very midst of World War II. First, we're following Nora, who is an English woman living in Singapore, and she puts her 8-year-old daughter Sally on a ship leaving Singapore by herself to keep her safe from the Japanese army that are moving in. Nora stays behind to take care of her, I believe, ill husband and elderly parents, knowing that she may never see her daughter again. We're also following Sister Nesta, who is a Welsh-Australian nurse who has enlisted to take care of Allied troops. But as Singapore falls to the Japanese, she finds herself on another ship, a merchant ship, in the cargo of people that happens to include Nora. Nora, who finds herself on the ship for reasons. I'm not sure if her husband and parents make it on that ship, but she's on this ship fleeing Singapore at this time too. And this particular ship, it gets attacked, and off the coast of Indonesia, the ship sinks. And these two women are thrown together as they survive this shipwreck. But even though they survive the shipwreck, they are captured by the Japanese and they are brought to a prisoner of war camp. And in this prisoner of war camp, they come together, they form a connection, they do what they can to help others. And this story follows them as they survive the POW camp. This one really does ring of The Nightingale, which were more about two sisters. These are about women who are strangers at first, and I think they become sisters of the heart. So I am here for that. I am super excited about this one. I definitely wanted to share with you this book because I think this one is going to be even more popular than The Tattooist of Auschwitz. Sisters Under the Rising Sun comes out October 24th. This next book I am really excited about. I have not read this author, but he is pretty well known. He's got a pretty extensive backlist. However, he has not written anything in 20 years. But I read the synopsis to this, and I feel like this is going to be my first book with this author. This one is called America Fantastica by Tim O'Brien. Tim O'Brien wrote The Things We Carried, which is a pretty well-known book. This is marketed as historical fiction / literary fiction. It involves a journalist, a bank robbery, a car chase, a road trip. It just had all of these words that were buzzwords for me, but not necessarily buzzwords for your average reader. The story takes place in 2019. You're following Boyd, who was a star journalist who kind of fell off his star due to some online misinformation, and he went from star journalist to JCPenney manager. And one bright Saturday morning, he decides to go into his local bank and rob the place. And after getting $81,000 from the teller, Boyd decides that the teller needs to come with him. The story begins in their cross-country journey. I think this is going to be an action-packed adventure novel because we have this car trip that isn't just a road trip. It's basically a car chase because Boyd and Angie are fleeing the cops. The only thing on Boyd's mind is seeking revenge on the man who ruined his life. Before long, Angie and Boyd end up in Mexico, and then not too long after that, they end up in a mansion in Minnesota, and you have all of these crazy, colorful characters chasing them. You have an heiress, you have hitmen, you have jealous lovers, you have a business tycoon. All of these people are chasing Boyd and Angie except the police. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun ride, like literally and figuratively. So I'm super excited about this. Tim O'Brien, I don't know hardly anything about him, but I feel like I'm on the verge of finding a new favorite author. Let's keep our fingers crossed about that. America Fantastica comes out October 24th. And finally, this last book I'm going to talk about, I almost didn't include on this list because there's a little bit of confusion, but I decided to add it anyway, just because. The confusion is that Goodreads said it was published in April, but I think it was published only online. I think it's more of a Kindle book or an electronic book, and it hasn't been published physically yet. That's my guess, but I'm not sure. I think the physical book is going to be published in October. I just don't know, but I'm going to include it on this list because I'm excited about the book. It's a debut novel, so that always excites me. Oh yeah, what book am I talking about? I'm talking about The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. This is marketed as historical fiction / mystery. This story takes place in Maine in the United States, and it takes place in 1962. I love books that take place in the 60s. We're following a Micmac family, and Micmacs are the indigenous people of, I believe, Eastern Canada. And I think there's a large population of them, at least there were during this time in Maine. So this one opens up with a Micmac family who goes to Maine to pick blueberries for the summer. After about a month being there, their youngest child goes missing. Yeah, I believe the missing child is 4 years old, and she was last seen by her 6-year-old brother. This disappearance that remains unsolved for so many years, it haunts a 6-year-old for many, many years. Then also in Maine, you start to follow Norma, who is a young girl. She's the only child of an affluent family. Her father is emotionally distant. Her mother is terribly overprotective. And Norma is kind of haunted by these dreams that she's having that seems more like memories to her than dreams. You're following Norma as she lives her life, as she gets older, and as she grows older, she's starting to learn that there is something that her parents are keeping from her, that there are these family secrets that her parents are keeping from her. It becomes Norma's sole focus in life to figure out what it is that her parents aren't telling her, and she believes it has something to do with these dreams / memories that she's having and her past and where she comes from. And I have a feeling I know where this is going, but I really think that the heart of this story is going to be how it's told. So I'm super intrigued by this book. I'm really excited about it. The fact that it's a debut novel also gets me excited. Mystery / historical fiction, I mean, yes, please. The Berry Pickers comes out October 24th, allegedly. We'll see. So that is it. Those are the books that I am super excited to come out in October. What books are you guys excited about? Are you excited about any of these? Let me know what is coming out that you're excited about down below in the comments, or you could just say hi down in the doodly-doo. I love to hear from you guys. These are my favorite videos to record, and I love the engagement with all of you to talk about new books. If you're still watching at this point, please consider giving that like button a boop, and a subscribe would be wonderful. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.